All right, so you want to talk iPhone 16 Pro Max camera. You guys send in a ton of stuff about this YouTube video. Three, total iPhoneography nuts geeking out over the new camera. So we figured, let's dive in, unpack their first impressions, and maybe pick up a few tricks along the way, right?
Yeah, and right away, what grabs you is their pure excitement, especially given what these phones cost. It's clear for them having the latest tech isn't showing off. It's about pushing creative limits, finding new ways to see the world through that lens.
Oh, totally. They basically said, for a lot of folks, this isn't just a camera, it's their whole creative outlet. So that big question, is the yearly upgrade worth it? Especially if you're not a pro photographer. They go back and forth, but their love for iPhoneography, it kind of wins out.
And they build a strong case. Staying current, it can be huge. Think about it. Pics of your kids, travel memories, even just artistic shots for Instagram, having the best tech, it elevates things.
It's about those jaw-dropping moments, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of, the Pro Max just got bigger. 6.3-inch screen puts it closer than ever to the Max model.
Yeah.
This tale of two sizes had them stumped. Is the Pro Max stepping on the Max's toes? Do we need that much screen?
It's an interesting one for sure. Speaks to the whole thing of finding that balance between a phone you can actually hold comfortably and one that's giving you the super immersive experience,
For sure. Now, what really got them going was that new physical camera button. Completely divided. Genius or recipe for disaster.
Oh, totally.
I'll admit, I was skeptical, but hearing them debate, it got me thinking.
What stood out to me was their focus on muscle memory, how we use our phones. It's one thing to add a button, but does it fit into how people actually use the thing? Will it be easy or clunky? And for people with different needs, how much can you customize those settings? Accessibility is huge.
Yeah, they're even thinking about, cases. Will you need a special one for the new button?
Yeah.
It's that attention to the whole user experience that I like.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, getting into the camera itself, that ultra-wide lens got a macro upgrade. You can focus way closer, get those creamy, out-of-focus backgrounds. Photographers call it bokeh.
Okay, pause right there. Okay. Now, for us non-photography nerds, what is that exactly? Sounds fancy.
Right. So bokeh, it's all about how that blurry background looks. Gives photos that dreamy, almost 3D effect, especially when you're up close to your subject.
So it's that soft blur that makes your subject pop. Like those flower pics where the petals are sharp, but the background's all swirly colors?
Exactly. And the hosts were getting amazing stuff with the new ultra-wide macro. One of them showed a flower pic, the bokeh was insane, really made the colors come alive. But then things got interesting when he started messing with the Pro RAW settings.
Pro RAW settings, you say? Now you're speaking my language. But for everyone else, quick, Pro RAW 101.
Totally. Imagine Pro RAW as a digital negative. It's capturing everything the sensor sees, no processing, so you've got maximum control when editing later, like shooting raw on a professional camera.
So more control, which is awesome if you're into fine-tuning. But what was interesting about his experiment, you said something about it changing the photo.
He dialed back the Pro RAW processing while editing, and it actually made the image softer than expected.
Wait, softer? I thought more detail was always better, especially with everyone going on about sharper and sharper images these days. What's the deal there?
It's wild, right? It kicked off this whole conversation about where that line is between, technical perfection versus how you want something to actually look artistically. They were wondering if all that processing, those algorithms making things super sharp, maybe sometimes it's too much, especially for macro stuff where a softer look can actually be nicer.
So it's about being deliberate, knowing what your tools can do and when to use them. I dig that they're getting into that artistic side of iPhoneography.
Totally. It's not just point, shoot, let the phone do its thing. Yeah. It's understanding how settings, techniques, they all play into the final image and using that to get your vision across.
And speaking of achieving a look, video, that 4K Flomo at 120 frames per second, it's got everyone talking. They were practically drooling over the possibilities, talking about seeing individual raindrops in slow motion with this kind of detail.
One of them described filming like chicken wings over a fire pit in slow motion, and honestly, it sounded like a gourmet cooking show. He was floored by how the new camera captured the flames, the sizzling. Crazy detail.
Okay, now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
But all that detail has got to come at a cost, right?
How much storage are we talking here?
Yeah, he did say a 34-second clip took up 250 megabytes. So those high-quality files, they're definitely going to eat some space.
Yikes. Trade-offs. But hey, for footage that good, might be worth deleting some old stuff. And it's not just the visuals getting an upgrade, right? They mentioned the microphones on the 16 Pro Max. They might be way better. Oh, they were stoked about that. Especially the idea of recording really good audio without needing extra mics. They wanted to try it everywhere, especially live music, see if it could stand up to proper gear.
That would be huge. Imagine recording a concert on your phone,
Yeah.
amazing sound quality, no more lugging around a ton of equipment, just crisp audio.
Game changer for vloggers, podcasters, musicians, anyone who wants great audio without the hassle. We've talked new stuff, but I'm curious, what about like photographic styles? That came out on the last one. Have you played with those much?
Honestly, not as much as I thought I would. Always seemed a bit niche, like kind of similar to those Fujifilm film simulations. Speaking of, for those who don't know, what are those exactly?
Sure. Think of them as filters, but designed to look like classic Fujifilm film stocks. It's a quick way to give your photos a certain vibe, like that vintage look or punchier colors, that kind of thing.
So kind of like photographic styles. They're giving you those preset looks, but more about recreating actual film.
Got it.
But back to those styles. The hosts mentioned one big improvement on the 16 Pro Max that makes them more appealing.
Yes, you can undo them when editing now. Before, you were stuck with it. Now you can experiment without messing up your photos permanently, which is great for, like, trying different editing styles.
It's all about that flexibility. Gives you more options, more creative control. Speaking of, these guys, being the photo nerds they are, already planning fall foliage shots with the 16 Pro Max. They talked about timing, getting those leaves at peak color, and how the phone handles those vibrant colors. Good reminder that sometimes the best stuff to shoot is right outside.
Right. They were raving about how the iPhone did with the skies, the colors, even in tricky lighting, which can be tough, capturing those subtle shades in fall leaves.
And the whole thing about finding unique compositions, a fresh take on those classic fall scenes. Even with the best tech, it's the photographer's eye that matters.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of those moments, one host told this funny story about always forgetting to turn on Pro Raw. He made a shortcut that pops up saying, "Turn on RAW, idiot," every time he opens the camera app.
Genius. I feel that. Getting so caught up in the moment, you forget a setting. It's like tech can be personalized. Even give us a nudge. Maybe I need one to remind me to clean my lens. Speaking of capturing the moment, I loved how they kept coming back to that idea of chasing the perfect shot.
Right. It's this whole thing in photography, isn't it? Wanting that technical perfection, especially now with social media, everyone posting those amazing pics.
Easy to get hung up on the gear, the megapixels, the latest features.
Yeah.
But like one of them said, sometimes a technically bad photo could be way more powerful than a perfect one. It makes you think, With every year, new phones, crazy features. Is there even such CityH a thing as that perfect shot? Or is it more about like the feeling you capture, the story, that quick moment of beauty?
That's what they leave you wondering, and it's a good question. Easy to get obsessed with technical stuff, but sometimes the most memorable photos, they're the ones that grab a feeling, even if they're not technically perfect,
Totally. Like a blurry action shot, but it totally captures the energy. Or a portrait, maybe a little dark, but you see the person's vulnerability. Those imperfections, they make it feel real.
100%. Like those old family photos might be faded, a little blurry, but they have so much weight, They take you back to that time.
It's a good reminder for all of us, fancy camera or just our phones, to think about what we're really shooting. Are we holding on to a memory, showing a feeling? We're just appreciating what's around us,
And sometimes letting go of that perfect shot idea lets us be there more, really experience it without worrying about the camera.
So you're out there, phone's in your hand, what are you going to focus on?
Yeah.
That impossible perfect shot, or just life happening, beautiful in its own way.
Maybe this got you wanting to try something new, mess with Pro Raw, or even just like pay more attention to what you see around you. Whatever it is, remember, best camera is the one you got, and the important thing is capturing those moments that matter.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So on that note, we'll leave you with this. Next time you're lining up a shot, ask yourself, what story am I telling? Might surprise you. Until next time, happy shooting.